So back on the Dirty Hands Clean Money podcast, we got Roy on with us today. Can you introduce yourself a little bit, brother?
Yeah, how's it going? My name's Rory. I own Resurrected Diesel Performance. A lot of guys probably see me on YouTube for Resurrected Diesel. Kind of do a little bit of everything between building trucks and showing how we do it over here.
Yeah, so the shop, just to dive right in, the shop is moving, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we've been in California for about a year and a half now. And we're parting ways with our California roots, and we're moving to Panama City Beach, Florida.
What's the idea on that? Why are you moving?
California is not the greatest place to own a diesel shop, for just being honest. I think there's a better opportunity down there, and I'm sure a lot of the people who are listening or who know me also know Bertrand 850, and he's down there. And originally, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was supposed to move down there. I kind of fell into a good opportunity in California, so I stayed out here for a little bit, gave it a run, and I think it's just finally time to follow my original dream of moving there.
So since you're working with him on that, are we gonna see a lifted Huracan in the future?
I don't know about the Huracan. I mean, he let me touch it by doing the exhaust, but I don't know if he'll let me go that far.
I think that'd be crazy, though.
I agree, but that's also a lot of money.
That is true, too.
Be messing with. You can expect a lifted Prius, so I know that for sure.
A lifted Prius. That's in the future.
Yes.
What's the process of that? Like, how do you just say, okay, guys, now let's sit down for a meeting. What's next? Fucking lifted Prius.
It's actually going to be crazier than that, but I'm going to keep some of that stuff for everyone to watch later on.
So something to look forward to.
Yeah. So it's going to be more than just a lift, but basically we're going to build I don't know how deep we're going to go on it, but being a fabricator and everything, I would like to at least do like a tube chassis or at least a half tube chassis, because it's just a unibody car. So
yeah,
the inspiration he gave me was like a pre-runner go-kart Prius, and we'll kind of leave it at that.
Just fucking Mad Max meets Hot Wheels.
Yeah, pretty much tires outside the fenders, pretty much stripped interior and some go fast parts.
So yeah, every shop's got like a style. Do you think you guys have a style, or is it just whatever looks good?
I don't know. I'm still so new at this. I've been doing work for a long time, but in the sense of owning a shop and building a style, I'm still pretty new. I'd say my style, if anything, or like what I would like to produce the most of, is like exaggerated or kind of like crazy overbuilt, but functional. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to word that. I don't know how to word that the right way. Like trucks that are too tall or too much power or, whatever it may be, but they still work. Like I still want to be able to drive down the road. So I don't want it to just look good. I want it to function good.
I'm sure you know who Plan B is, correct?
Yes.
What are your opinions on Plan B?
To be honest, I haven't seen enough of their work in person. And I mean, just coming from me, this is like my personal way of doing things. I do not like to look at other people's like Instagrams or YouTubes, just because you start to pick up things that other people do.
Subconsciously.
And you'll start to, subconsciously, you'll start to like follow things that people do or like styles that people have without knowing. So yes, I'm a YouTuber. Yes, I post Instagram pictures. Yes, I like followers. But at the same instance, like I'm a terrible like social media like follower, like I don't like posts on Instagram. I don't like YouTube videos. It's just kind of the way I am.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like weird in and of itself. But I really don't know enough about their builds. I know they look really good. I haven't seen or driven one or been around one, but we're going to Daytona, so hopefully I can see some down there.
Yeah, Plan B Fab, I think is recognized a lot for maybe it's just a social media presence and how long they've been around, but there's been a lot of talks about how copy paste it seems. We kind of talked about this on the last podcast, but um it's copy it seems there's a little bit of flair in each build, but when you get down and you break it down, a lot of people kind of refer to Plan B as they're all about the quantity. They don't necessarily want to build 20 trucks a year. They want to build 200 trucks a year. But I mean, realistically, who wouldn't want to build 200 trucks a year? But they're all very, very similar.
Yeah, and financially speaking, like as a business owner, like that's the right way to do it. Like they're not letting people, because dipping deep into like finances on a build or whatever, a completely one-off custom build is going to cost you about 3 times the price of
A
like
normal build.
yeah, just a normal build where like, hey, if you come to my shop and say, hey, I want what this guy had, and we already have all the files for it and everything, it's like easy cut.
Especially if you have the same truck.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're within similar years where there's a few slight modifications, it's like, okay, that's pretty easy. But when you're doing one off, I mean, you're taking a $20,000 build budget and bringing it up to 60,000.
Yeah, and I
So
know
it's,
for so we have an exhaustive company called Thunder Customs. I mean, when people reach out to us, it's awesome when we get to work with clubs and stuff like that, because they'll get a tip with their logo on it, and then an initial tip will cost them $500, and then once they have interest inside their group, a tip of the same tip would cost them $320, because the initial payment for all that the design fees are all out of the way. I mean, we kind of talk about this a lot, but you pay for custom work.
yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is like you said, design time. When like someone needs to get paid for that, like whether it's you're paying outsource or you have someone in-house who's designing. Like I do most of the like CAD work in the shop, and there's been times I haven't made money for a couple hours because I'm designing something that I didn't think about the cost of it or whatever. So at the end of the day, every piece that's created or made, and at that, usually design time is like not cheap. So it's, you got to figure out what works for you and how you can make money. Like if all you do is custom stuff and you're the best at it and you can charge a lot of money for it, like it works for you. But if you're not quick and fast and you cannot turn around trucks while doing one-off builds, like you kind of need to be cookie cutter in a sense.
It's almost like there's success in both markets. It really just depends on how you market it. The big thing with that is if you have a cookie cutter product, people know that, people realize that, but the only way to be successful with that is the turnaround time. People will only buy your thing, if it's, people don't want to wait. Let's say, for instance, it's a grill, we'll just take grills as it is. People don't want to wait, you know, as long as you would for a custom grill for something that is cookie cutter that everyone else has. So if you can drop that time to 30% of what the length of the normal time would be, people would be more than happy to purchase that, because they say, hey, I'm going to order this today, I'm going to get this next month at the same time. But then on the other hand, if you do want to go the custom route, you got to let people know this is how long it's going to take. It's going to take 3 months. We only do 6 grills a month because we're small. What is that? That's 72 grills a year. People really like, there's 2 things people really like, is being one off or having stuff done fast. And it really comes down to, do you have a show or do you have enough? It's all about time at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the other thing with time too is customer changes on one-off stuff. I don't think everyone realizes that like changing one slight design thing
Changes the whole build.
Might disrupt everything along the way. You're like, okay, yeah, maybe this one cutout's different, but that adds 2 weeks worth of design, recutting, reweld. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
it's hard to do one off, because one slight change or one unhappy thing or one thing that doesn't fit right can throw you off by weeks. So I get it. The show crunch kind of comes into effect, like you said. If someone's trying to get something done real quick, it's like you're either going to pay premium price for it to get it turned around that fast, or you're going to wait.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of how do I want to say this, but let's take it like this. Scoops SMG's Scoops truck, the blue camo, that truck took him 3 years to build. And it's not like it was crazy over the top, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not like it was 80 foot off the ground and it took 10 years to weld up, right? The big thing with it is, he kept adding and adding to it because he found these different flares that made the truck so much better. And the big thing with that truck is it was gaining so much traction. And as he kept, he didn't have to have a final build to, have the social media presence. People would have rather followed his build rather than, see some complete product. There's a lot of builds out there that are great on a rendering, but when the rendering comes out, no one really cares about, like, well, I wouldn't say no one, because I appreciate them. And I know probably 20% of people appreciate, the build process, but there's a lot of people out there that don't care, but anything that's between the rendering and the final product.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it all the time, is that like some people will miss on the rendering by a long shot.
Yeah.
Just being honest, in the fabrication world or the one-off world. And I'm we're building a Mile High truck right now, which we're getting close to wrapping up. And we're not exactly to the rendering, but when I plan on taking a picture similar to the rendering, like, position of the truck, and I can tell you right now, it's going to be pretty close. It'll be in retrospect like the same height, the same everything, same colors where we wanted it and all that stuff. So it's like you see some other builds and people just like forget the renderings there, and that could be because of money constraints or time constraint. Like, there's a million different things, or just the fabricator just missed their mark. There's a million different things that go into it. But when someone brings me a rendering, it's like I want to make the truck look in real life exactly how the rendering is.
And that's the hardest part, especially with there's a lot of people that don't get consulted about renderings. They just see, okay, they've done this before and they've done this before. Can I put them together somehow? Then they go to a rendering place, and then we get the renderings and we see this stuff. And I'm like, I could probably do that. But instead of that 8 to 12 week time you were thinking about, it's now going to take 20 weeks because I have to design, everything, because I don't see dimensions on the sheet. I don't see every, last angle on, everything. It's a lot of that is you got to play it by ear, and sometimes you have to cut pieces, prop it up there and be like, shit, now I have to throw this away, or I have to do XYZ with this because it's not going to fit right.
Yeah, and at that, you said it perfectly. Like, when we get a rendering, like, there is no measurements, there's no information on how to build that truck. There's just a finished product picture. So coming from fabrication, whatever it is, when you want to build something, usually you're going to draw it and you'll have blueprints. You'll know how long this needs to be or how high it needs to be. And building a truck from scratch, like, just on the Mile High truck, like, the only piece of information I got was how tall he wanted the bedside to be, like in inches. Like, he's like, hey, I want the bedside to be this tall, which is fine. It's my job to build the truck. But like, had I not even had that mark to go off of, I would have had no idea how tall to make that truck,
Yeah.
So it just comes down to, like, you need some information to make something work, or you're doing a lot of trial and error.
With that build process is difficult, especially with I mean, when you can work directly with rendering companies and get, stuff, when you can go back and forth on stuff like that, I mean, it's great, but that never happens.
Yeah, and also a good rendering goes a long way too, not just Photoshop. Like if you pay for them, you pay for quality renderings, but if you can put into perspective like scaled tires and know your tire size and all that stuff, when you give the rendering to them, you can kind of envision it, because you
Yeah,
you
it's a
need
little easier.
yeah, you need some knowns, right? So, like I said, we knew how tall the bedside wanted to be. We knew what tires we were running. Now, do I think the tires came up a little small in the build and we need to go bigger? Yes. But that's something we can figure out later. We went off the bedside, not the tire height. So it kind of depends what known you take and what you build off of. You know what I'm saying?
That's another thing. I mean, sometimes you get so big with builds. We've talked about this on other podcasts, but you know, you get those big, 44-inch wheels, and you're not driving on those anywhere. Well, I mean, you are, but you're not going down the highway. You're not doing XYZ. And sometimes, really lifting your truck, but you still want to drive that thing 80, 90 miles on the highway is difficult.
See, and that goes back to the functional thing, like building a truck the right way. Like we are putting 42s on this mile high truck, and it'll probably go to 46s down the road. But I fully anticipate being able to drive this truck 80 miles per hour down the freeway. Like I can tell you right now, I didn't even have sway bars or anything in it on our test drive, and I did 50 with nothing. Bolts weren't even tight. Like it was just a test drive, and I was doing 50 down the road. So it's like it's all in how you build it. Like you can build it functionally. It takes more time and it takes more money.
Oh yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is if I mean, money, time are the two biggest restraints when it comes to custom work. I mean, we kind of touched on it, but people really, there's so much passion that goes into custom work. You know, when you can get the time to directly sit down with someone that is, face to face, not over a laptop, not over, sit face to face and have a pen and paper in front of each of you, and you can sit down and talk about it for an hour or two on what you're envisioning. And the person that's doing your fabrication can draw up as you're talking, what you're thinking. That's probably my favorite way when I work with customers. Really never happens, but to really, you know, pick the brain of someone. I personally think if I had my truck done by another company, I definitely wouldn't want to say, hey, I want to do this. Then I'd send it off to a rendering company, and then they'd send it to that company. I would most likely say, I like when I order anything custom, when it comes to fabrication or leather work, I just say, I want it blue. I want it black. Do whatever you want. As long as it doesn't have these three things in it, do whatever you want. Cause you're going to get the best work then.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, letting builders put their own touch on things, and I'm not saying I'm the most experienced builder, but, one day I will be pretty experienced, I feel. And at that is like, they're going to know what works. They're going to know how to fabricate something, how to make it strong and look good, so it takes time to learn, but at that, fabricators know probably more about how things function than what you think. That we're not just welding, we're like actually like problem solving the whole time.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't get enough credit for that. I mean, there's a lot of extra things that fall into knowing how, is this going to ride right? Or if it hits this certain angle, everything's, nothing's going to turn, or, there's so many different things that come into play when it comes to, especially building off from the axle to the frame and everything in between. It's so hard to get all those metrics down.
Yeah. And at that, even I would say even on like most builds, and it's okay because we're not racing these trucks. Like, racing and daily driving's two hugely different things. Because in the daily driving scenario, your vehicle uses about 1 to 3 inches of wheel travel at all times. Like driving on the highway, hitting speed bumps, whatever, it's about 1 to 3 inches. So you can kind of not have any suspension geometry, and you can make it ride still good. Like you can still build a solid truck without it. But if you were actually like a trophy truck, for instance, where you're using 20 to 30 inches of wheel travel, you actually need to take into consideration your camber curves, your steering scrub, all the things that go into your suspension travel that most people don't even look at because they're just building a lifted truck and it's just going to be a pavement princess. So who cares?
Where do you see resurrected diesel in the next 12 months, in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm stressed because we're moving. It's hard to envision because I want to continue to do the basic builds. So let me break it down for you on like a financial standpoint of
For sure
owning a diesel shop. Custom builds, unless like Plan B or something, like you're cranking out 200 a year, whatever the case may be, you're not making any money on them, really. The amount of time and material costs, and like obviously, like yes, you do make money, but it's not quick turnaround. Your money,
it's not as much as people think as well.
Yeah, you don't make, you really can't get super rich. I mean, you can, but it takes time to get super rich off doing custom builds. The real money maker for us, as like a diesel performance shop, is repairs and small upgrades. So I guess my overall idea for where I would like my shop to be from like an owner standpoint is I would still like to, rebuild and, fix trucks. Like I don't ever want to lose sight of like where I started. But I would like to get a good group of guys that work for me that can handle the builds, the custom, doing compound turbo kits, doing all this. And I want to focus a little bit more on fabrication for myself. So still be at the shop every day, but I would like to knock out like 1 to 2, SEMA style functional builds a year while still having guys that do our normal truck work.
So that's the goal, and I think that's everyone's. I mean, that's, for sure, that's mine too, but is to be able to have 5 to 15 guys doing all the things that keep the lights on. And then you have the time to express all your creativity, and you have as much money as you want and enough time, as much time as you want to crank out really fun and awesome projects. That's the goal, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously living the American dream. It's like you work, you build a business or whatever, and you make money. Like everyone wants money. And at the end of the day, yes, you need money to operate. But I would say I'm not like money driven. Like I'm not doing this because I want to get rich. Because trust me, there's way better ways than owning a diesel shop to get rich.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fucking work, and I do it because I love what I do. I've always had a diesel truck. I've owned like 15 Duramaxes at this point, and I just love it. And that's why I made my YouTube channel too. Is like, people always ask me like, why do you post all your secrets on how you fix things or this or that or whatever? It's like some people can't afford to pay a shop to fix their truck, and stuff breaks. So some people are stuck at home with a $30,000 truck that, blew a head gasket or something, and they can't afford, they're financially not in the situation, especially with all this COVID bullshit going on. They're not in a situation to dump $7,000 to do studs and injectors or this or that, at a shop. So realistically, what you're paying for at that point is labor. So you can get the job done for $2,500 if you do it yourself, and I know deep down, not every person in the country or the world is going to come to my shop. Some people are going to do it themselves no matter what. So I set out to help those people. And, that's just kind of like me. Like, I don't want everyone's money. I'm not being selfish with what I do. I try to show people what I do. I just want to have fun doing it.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, that's the biggest thing for us as well. I mean, there's a lot of great ways to become a millionaire, a billionaire, right? I mean, e-commerce is crazy right now, but I mean, I don't enjoy doing it. I don't see myself waking up in the morning every day and being like, "Oh yeah, let's go drop ship 10,000 different products today." Honestly, if I would way rather, live with making, $1,000 a day rather than $100,000 a day if it's something I don't want to do. I mean, if I was making $100,000 a day, I mean, it's hard to be unhappy, but I mean, if you have to wake up and you have to put in the, 15 to 16 hours you're already going to be putting in something else into something you don't want to do, whether it's making you money or not, I mean, you're not going to last.
Yeah, I mean, just for instance, and this is kind of like getting a little bit into more of my personal story, I guess. I was in the Marine Corps. I worked on F-18 fighter jets. I worked on ejection seats in the fighter jets, and I could have easily gotten out and been a government contractor making, six figures a year, but I was so sick of being told what to do on a daily basis by a boss or by this or by that, that I decided to, give up everything, every amount of income or anything that I had just to open my own business. So it's like, it's the hard way, but it's the free way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
free. So like, I don't have to work on a Monday if I don't want to. Obviously, like if I have stuff going on, I have to, but if I have something I have to take care of, I go and take care of it. No one's telling me what to do. No one's yelling at me, nothing like that. And, yes, do I plan to make a lot of money one day? Obviously, that's everyone's goal, just being real. But it's, I've given up and taken so much financial cuts by this move and this business that, like, it wasn't ever about being the richest diesel shop. Because as soon as you become money oriented, you lose quality. It's all about money. It's not about why you started or what you're producing.
Yeah. I mean, going back on the topic of the move, um, what was I mean, we kind of talked about why you moved, but how did you figure out where the right place to go was?
Um, so I grew up in Rhode Island in New England. Um, and I've been in California for the last 6 years. So I've seen a northeastern perspective of vehicles. I've seen the California, and don't get me wrong, like the money out here in California and the money people spend on their vehicles is insane. But it comes with a high cost of living and all that stuff. And the market I wanted to be in, as far as custom truck building. Now I'm talking custom lift kits, built motors, because deep at my roots, I'd say I'm a racer. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't really care about lifted trucks all that much. I just kind of built one, and then it just kind of stuck with me. Um, my favorite thing is drag racing, so that's kind of where we're gonna start leaning towards. Personally, on a personal level, my next build is a drag truck. But I just kind of started building lifted trucks because it's fun and more people want a lifted truck versus a race truck because it's more accessible, more easily to drive on the road, like whatever. So in New England, you don't see lifted like show trucks. You see work trucks that are all rusted out because they have snow plows on them in the wintertime, like all that stuff. So when I was thinking about it, obviously, Dalton, Bertrand down in Florida, like me and him have been talking, and after we met and everything, and he was like trying to convince me to go down there. But the more I looked at it, it seemed more of like a perfect fit because Florida, we have the beaches, and obviously I like the water and all that stuff, but we still have the nice weather, the beaches and all that stuff. And then I also noticed that the truck market down there
This
is
is
very
massive.
similar. It's massive and it's very similar to California. where it's big lifted trucks, show trucks. We have Daytona only a couple hours away from us. So I would even say the truck market is larger in the South, or because we're going to the Panhandle, so like northern Florida, all of Florida, I guess the whole Southeast, if you will. The truck market for what we want to do is larger there than it is anywhere else.
Yeah.
So the more we sat down and thought about it and looked at our options and where we wanted to go and price points and all this stuff, we saw that the best fit for us was really where Dalton had asked us to go originally, in Florida, because, at the sense of, just the laws there are better for a diesel shop. The truck market's huge. Everyone drives a truck down there. And, and I'm not going to bash the Georgia lean, South Carolina lean, whatever, Cali lean,
squatted trucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Squatted trucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will I build one? Probably not. I probably won't let one leave my shop like that. I'll put the whole lift kit in, and if they want to
take it out, yeah.
Yeah, that's on them. I think that's going to be my rule. It's just a hazard,
the big thing is the hazard. It's crazy. How many people get hit with lifted trucks? It's unreal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And trust me, I drive a lifted truck, and like I hit some lady in my orange truck, the first one I built, the first solid axle, and that truck wasn't even squatted. Like, she just cut me off and I literally couldn't see her. So I can only imagine how bad it is in trucks like that. So I think my liability thing will be, I'll put the whole lift kit in and leave it at that. You can do whatever you want after that.
Yeah, because especially you're going to go, okay, so let's say there's a lot of guys out there doing those 8-inch Magoys, right? Especially squatted trucks. And then it's like, okay, you're already 8 inches up. It's, it's already, okay, visibility issues. But then you fucking drop shackle that bitch in the back. So now it's a 10-inch difference. That's terrible. That's not safe for anyone.
Not to mention
for freaking kids.
Yeah, not to mention just like you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's actually bad for all your suspension angles. Like your vehicle is not going to drive or perform how it did at one point, or even obviously you lose some of your drivability when you lift a truck. Like everyone thinks it drives the same because you're only using so little of it on daily driving, but like already lifting it fucks up a bunch of stuff. Like in the down and dirty of like suspension geometry and how trucks work, like lifting a truck is actually bad. Obviously everyone does it. It's not that bad that it actually causes an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to say like
it's just
bad.
A little extra wear and tear, but it's not too much.
It's not terrible. But as soon as you lean your truck back, you change your center of gravity, you change your angles that things are, actuating on and moving on, and
things are getting worn unevenly.
Yeah. And it's I don't know. I'm not a fan. I won't build any like that. So
yeah, for sure. But
that's just me.
So now that you've got the move, you've got the right people you're working with, you've got a great market, you've got a great location. How do you go about taking what you have now and growing it exponentially and getting 5-10 trucks in the shop at a time?
Honestly, I don't know. No, we're still working on the marketing thing. I got extremely lucky, and I say luck because I really don't know what I'm doing. Like in the sense of fixing trucks, I know what I'm doing, but like in the sense of owning a business and marketing and all this stuff, it's like I've never done this before. I just turned 25. Like it's not like I've been around. I'm very young still in the sense of the world, and luckily through the last year, what I have seen is by building vehicles or doing work and putting it on YouTube, 80 to 90% of my customers that I had even in California were YouTube based or Instagram based. Like
and that's where we see a lot of our sales as well.
Yeah. So when you take something and you put your product out on a social media platform and you can build a following, and and trust me, I still don't even do YouTube right, because I've been doing YouTube for like 4 years. I only have like 15,000 subscribers, which is good. I'm thankful for each and every one of them. But you see some people blow up in 3 months and have a million, but whatever, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still going to do it. I do it for fun. I don't do it for, the bullshit. I just do it because I like to help people. So I got extremely lucky though, that I started to do YouTube when I was bored in the Marine Corps, just messing around with my personal truck. That over the years, I've built an audience that has seen, they've definitely seen me grow. Cause I can tell you right now, my skills this year versus 5 years ago are two totally different set of skills. I was not the person I was 5 years ago. And at that, it's, you grow, but you show everything that you do, all your mistakes, you're just honest. You start to build a fan base, and people will travel just for you. You know what I'm saying? Almost because they trust you. They start to build like this relationship with you, even though you don't like physically know them, and luckily that's what is great about YouTube is people are everywhere. My YouTube followers are not just in California, they're across the country. So I've had people from Pennsylvania want to ship me their truck to do work on it. I have a job lined up in Florida already from a guy from Georgia that, wanted to ship his truck out to California. And I said, wait a minute, dude, like we're moving close to you, just hang out for a couple months and we'll get down there. So it's nice because I'm basically marketing myself without marketing myself. It's just, I'm letting my work speak for itself.
And I think the biggest thing that's taken for granted, let's say there's a lot of guys out there with huge followings that do YouTube and that's it. They take, they could have 2, 3, 400,000 subscribers on YouTube, totals over a million followers across platforms, and they just do YouTube, right? It's so crazy. Just imagine them opening a business, right? They don't even have to do any of the work. Just open a business, and then let's say we want to make bumpers, right? Make a custom bumper for your truck, put it on your truck. Don't tell anybody about it yet. Just put it on your truck and then show people around, show it the bumper, have it out there for a month or so, and then say, hey, boom, we made this bumper. Go check this out. We're established, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll probably see 10, 20, 30 sales in the first 48 hours.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing too, is like, you'll know, when you see a YouTuber that is a smart business person, they will have some sort of income, is like, whether it's shirts or merchandise, that's the second source of income. And I always tell people, in and of itself, like, you don't make it until you make it on YouTube. Like, it'll just happen one day where you can quit your job. And that's what some people want. Some people don't want the responsibility of owning a business, which is fine, because trust me, YouTube pays plenty, like it really does. So, but I don't ever see myself, maybe one day but I would keep the shop, even if I did get to that point where I was making enough money off YouTube, like,
It'd be
I
a
would
second source of income.
Yeah, I just don't think I would give it up, but that's me, and it's not for everyone, and it's not wrong that people, like, if you're making $4 or $5 grand a month off YouTube, like, who cares? Like, you're making it more than most people do. So do they need a job? No. But if they start complaining about money, then it's like, okay, use your resources,
Oh yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, there's so many, it seems like blown opportunities, maybe. I don't know. That's just me sitting here, as a business guy. But the way I look at it is there's so much potential. And the big thing is you don't have to compete with people either. I mean, like, you could probably, let's say you're XYZ YouTuber and you have a sponsorship with Road Armor bumpers, and they sponsor you, right? And then you know, you have a really good connection with them, like ask them to say, hey, I want to come out with a bumper. Would you be interested in partnering and building Road Armor times, let's say, Gabe Farrell style bumper, right?
Yeah.
That thing would go massive, or, you know, whatever YouTuber. Or I would, you know what would be sick? What if Whistling Diesel, I know he works really, really closely with D&D Patty's shop, but, and I don't know how much more business he's got. I'm sure it's massive amounts, but um, if he came out with like a shop that just strictly did, you know, like stuff like that you did, that thing would be nuts. It'd be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, is if you want to do it, like, you can use your following in so many ways, but I will tell you, at the same point, it gets annoying in a sense, because sometimes people will show up just to show up. You know, they don't care about getting work done. They just want to meet these people.
Yeah.
So they start like following people around, and then people are kind of weird. You know, I've never understood the fascination of like photographing famous people, or like going to their house or seeing where they live. Like, yeah, I'll drive by some famous mansions or something, you know, but I but I'm also not that kind of person, you know, even in the sense of like famous people, you know, like movie stars. Like if I saw one of them in public, like I would probably walk on by, you know, like I don't hold people up to those standards, you know, like I don't think anyone's like above me, like that they need a picture, you know. I don't know if that's just me or
No,
being
that
an
makes total
asshole or whatever,
sense. It makes total
but
sense.
but some people are crazy like that. Some people will look up your, like, reverse search your fucking address and, you know, want to come to your house and sit outside until they see you. It's like, dude, how do you have that much time in your day? You know, so I understand why some of these people want to stay private and want to stay
Well,
away
yeah.
from people, because there's fucking crazy people out here.
The biggest thing I think is if you're like a respectful person, but maybe not like, okay, you're not respect, you know what I mean? You're like a half and half. If you go to any large truck meet ever, be nice to anyone and everyone, because you don't know who the fuck you're talking to. Because I would say 90, no, maybe not that many, but 70 to 80% of people that you may talk to at one of those shows are going to be, if you can hold a good conversation with someone, most likely those people have success in some other automotive industry business. You know, you don't know who you're talking to. There's a lot of brands out there that don't have a face behind them, you know, unless they're an influencer themselves, but you have no clue, because you don't hold them to the standard like a movie star, because they built a brand off their face. These people at the shows built a brand off of a product. You know, I think some people mistake that too, and I think um, some people don't realize, like, you could go to XYZ show, you go to Myrtle Beach Truck Week, and you could walk past um, the owner of Plan B, and you would never know it because you don't know who he is, right? It's not
Yeah.
because he doesn't plaster his face out there and he's like, oh, I'm the owner of Plan B, you know. Even though some guys that do, I love the guys that have the personal Instagrams that say, oh, and I own this, and then it lists all the things they own. That's great. That's cool. I mean, I do the same thing, but, you know, their businesses may have hundreds of thousands of followers, and then you see them and they have like 1,500 followers, which means like you will never know if you'll meet this guy unless you actually know who owns the business. I mean, it's crazy how many people you could meet at some of those shows and not even know it.
Yeah. And you know, at that, and I'm not trying to be like an asshole when I say about the picture thing or whatever, you know, it's like, because I still enjoy like taking pictures with people. Like,
Oh
see,
yeah.
I'm kind of weird in the sense that, like, I don't act how everyone else acts when it comes to social media. You know, like, I don't follow people. I don't like Instagram pictures. I don't scroll on Instagram to look at things. You know, like, I'm extremely busy. Like right now, I work all day, and I actually go to night school, and we're trying to move. So it's like I'm doing like, you know, like 80 to 100 hours a week of just everything. So if, you know, if anyone's listening and I didn't answer you yet, that's why. I'll try to catch
Yeah.
up. But at that, you know, it's like I still love like when people want to take a picture with me because they followed me for years or whatever. It's like I'm not saying you can't take pictures with someone, but don't don't like infiltrate their life. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm at a truck show, like please come up to me and talk to me. Like I will show you everything I know about a build. You have a question about your truck, I'll answer it on the spot. Like I love talking to people. I love being out there. I love seeing people. I love just socializing. But like when we opened the shop in Florida, I think especially with Dalton's presence there, like we're probably going to get a lot of foot traffic. We're also going to have a showroom, but I don't care if you want to come hang out, see the shop, like buy some merch or whatever, but I still have a job to do. Like if I'm working, I can't, save it for the shows, like that's why we go to shows. That's the whole reason behind going to shows or doing private events or whatever it is that is our time to socialize. Like we still have a life, we still have work that needs to get done. So when we're at work or we're at home, let us be there. And when you're in public, that's when you socialize. You know what I'm saying? Like if that makes sense, like just not just trying to
Oh
clear
yeah.
the air, not be like I'm an asshole, don't take my picture. It's like it's not about that. It's just people hit me up and want answers right away or this or that. It's like, dude, I'm working, like I still have to make money and provide for my family at the end of the day too.
Well, and I think it's sometimes people don't realize, we don't just do this for fun. We have to put food on the table. We have to pay bills, XYZ.
Yeah. And as much as YouTube is fun, and it seems like a fun thing and this and that, it's like, I can tell you right now, and I'm sure I mean, you've kind of just started this podcast, right? You've been doing
Yeah.
it for a couple of weeks now. And I mean, I'm sure you see the amount of time and to be honest, with you and not talking down on it at all, but we're just talking. There's not a whole lot of video footage that you have to cut up and change and edit and this and that. You're just doing a podcast, which is
No, yeah, not at all. And
which is great.
Yeah.
But it still takes time. So YouTube in and of itself can be a full-time job. So when you look at someone like me who doesn't make a whole lot of money on YouTube, I have to dedicate 8 to 10 hours of filming and editing to make one video.
Well, yeah,
and
it's so much work. I mean, we talked to Alan with Skynet yesterday, and
yep.
it was, he kind of made me pull the trigger on going to Daytona. So
we'll come by the booth.
Will do, brother. I mean, we'll have to sit down for an in-person interview, because what I'm thinking is, I mean, I just booked my hotel last night.
I still need to do that
for a Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday night to Sunday. So I booked 5 days, and I know my ass is not taking a break any of those 5 days. I mean, the hotel ain't expensive. It was like, I don't know, like $700 for 5 nights or something like that, which is pretty all right. But I know if I don't leave that show with 50 pieces of content, 10 a day, if I don't leave that show with at least 10 pieces of content a day, I'll feel like it was a waste of time, a waste of money, whatever. I mean,
yeah,
because hopefully by that point, I'll be at, the money's not a big issue. I mean, I've got other money things coming in. It's not like I'm, worried about that. But, hopefully at closer to that time, June 11th, the monetization rolls in. But I mean, it is what it is. If it doesn't, I mean, I'll enjoy the show nonetheless, because I enjoy filming podcasts and talking to people. But hopefully, I've been thinking about a lot lately. How do I add content every day to the YouTube channel without putting out a podcast every day and starting to bore people? Because we post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and
which is
a
good,
lot,
by the way.
too.
I mean, and just on that note, real quick, not to cut you off.
Oh yeah.
But consistency is key on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that, dude, that's honestly why I'm not as successful on YouTube as I feel like I should be. Not that I feel like I need more money or this or that. It's like I post once to twice a month because that's about how much free time I have. Like I could post the same thing day in, day out. I could make a video every damn day, but you're going to see me do 5 minutes of a build.
Yeah.
And then the next video is going to be the next section of the build, because builds don't happen in a day. Like it takes a week or 2 weeks or a month. So it's like trying to find content and consistently upload is like the hardest part of it.
Well, yeah, I
Now,
send 100 emails, probably about 50 emails a day, just to people. And normally I don't get a response. I mean, I get maybe a response, every day, 50 emails every day, just to be able to put out 3 pieces of content a week for the podcast.
Yeah, and people don't understand the back end that goes into that. It's like YouTube is a very and podcast, and and I hear that so often. I hear it so often that people are always like, "Oh, dude, on Instagram when people message me, like I don't get back to everyone right away, but people are always like, dude, thank you for getting back to me. Like most guys won't even answer me." And a year or 2 ago, I would have been like, dude, these people are selfish as fuck if they don't answer people. But now it's like, okay, I can see how busy someone can be.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I know between running the business, going to school, living my normal life, which I don't really have much of, is, I can see why people get behind on DMs and stuff. So at that, I tell everyone to like, take a step back, like understand these people are busy, but I also always try to answer everyone. The YouTube comments I kind of have let go because I just can't keep up with them. But in my DMs, at least, I try to answer everyone, and people are like, dude, thank you so much. It's like answering a DM or answering an email, even if you say no, like you can't help them, dude, it takes 15 seconds. Like, dude, while you're taking a shit, you can answer like 100 emails. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's just about some people are lazy in the sense of getting back to people because I don't know if they feel like they're better than someone or what, but it goes back to that thing, dude. You should never hold yourself above anyone. Like you should treat everyone, we're all humans, dude. We're all humans at the end of the day. So you should treat everyone, unless they've screwed you over, unless you have a personal vendetta against them, you should treat everyone like they're on your level, help those people get to your level if they're not, like help everyone grow. There's enough for everyone.
Yeah, going on that content piece, I'm hoping to have you on, actually. That'd be great. But maybe do so 3 different pieces of content down there. Hopefully do some actual interviews, maybe do a couple podcasts. The big thing about the podcast is I don't really want to take an hour away from someone's day at Daytona, especially when we're out, maybe a few, but like a 5-minute walk around series for like certain truck builds, that would be cool. Just super small snippet of content. I mean, take us 30 minutes to film and put 5-10 minute video up on YouTube and create a suit. That would be cool. Trying to think of these different things to do down there and not just have interviews, but that gives me content to fill in those Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday gaps for, until the next show I go to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great idea, is kind of mix it up, do some interviews, because you can build this brand around yourself doing stuff like that. You don't need to do what everyone else does or this or that. You can do different types of podcasts. You can do a podcast and then have in-person interviews, to fill the gaps, and you can have a lot of content. There's a lot of people in this industry. There's a lot of people out there that, do crazy stuff. And, just for example, like, I've been in the truck world for some time now, but Gridiron Bumpers, actually, who were putting them on the Mile High truck, like, I have never even heard of these dudes before.
Oh yeah, I checked them out because I was doing research on you, and I was looking at the truck.
And dude, they make
sick.
badass.
They're so cool.
So cool. I personally love them. Like, if I build another truck, like, they're probably going to go on my truck. I'd say they're up there with like Flog Industries and stuff like that. And trust me, I just unboxed them and they're fucking pretty well built. So it's like but I've never heard of this company ever in my life. Over the last 10 years I've been building trucks, And it's like, dude, now I just heard of them, and they're willing to work with people and get their name out there. It's like there's so many badass companies out there that just need some publicity,
For sure. And rounding out the podcast, what is the most ridiculous fact that you know by heart?
The most ridiculous fact I know by heart?
Yes.
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't even think about things like that.
Here, we'll go with the side one.
Oh, all right.
Oh, you
All
go
right. No,
with it. Go
I
for
got
it.
something for you.
Go for it.
This isn't a ridiculous fact. I just found it out today, so I'm kind of interested by it. I learned it this morning when I was laying in bed. And this just goes for all the Duramax people out there. The top of the cylinder walls on a Duramax block, they're always cheetah print. Like they have spots on them. And for the longest time, I was on board with it too. I always thought it was injector burn marks, just the carbon buildup. It's actually, I can't even remember the name of it. It's hold on one second. I'll see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. It's induction hardening that actually hardens the top of the cylinders, and it creates those spots on it. And I just never even knew that until today. And now it's my whole life has been answered.
Your personal opinion on pineapple on pizza?
Terrible.
Disgusting.
Yeah, dude. You just got to eat it cold. Who eats warm pineapple?
Well, have you ever had fried pineapple?
I don't think I have.
Well, you're missing out. Rounding out the podcast, the Dirty Hand Clean Money podcast, episode number 8, I believe. Roy, let the people know where they can find you. All your links will be linked down below, but let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Yeah, so pretty much everything is Resurrected Diesel now on YouTube. Resurrected Diesel Performance, our Instagram. My personal, I guess my truck page is Duramax_Diesel. And we'll be in Panama City Beach in the next few months, so come get some work done.
And with that, all those links will be down in the description. Make sure you guys go check them out, and we hope everyone has a great rest of their day.